Fast, free delivery from the Home Depot makes your projects hassle-free. Forget something you need? Visit HomeDepot.com or the Home Depot app for free delivery on millions of products, including same-day and next-day options. Get delivery at the speed you need, only at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Order select in-stock items by 4 p.m., subject to availability.
We have been told that we are the big boys in town.
Well, he's yapping. He's into it. I'm talking about he is like lit.
He's about to start preaching.
Let everybody say amen.
I can get chills a little bit thinking about what these two guys could be.
Falcons Audible presented by AT&T is back. Your boys are here. That's DJ Shockley. That's Dave Archer. This is Derek Rackley. By the way, as you can see, it's throwback week. So the folks here at the Falcons facility hooked us up with the old school starter jackets, logo. Go model it for him, Shock. Get it for him. Can we get the music? Boom, 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 boom. Okay? Now, just a quick disclaimer.
Just like, what the?
If you happen to see us, if you're watching this like on YouTube, AtlantaFalcons.com, and we're about 17 minutes in, and you start to see sweat like running down our face, right? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, okay? One thing you definitely know.
They will keep you warm.
You definitely know is we're not chilly up in here, but we're supporting Throwback Week here. I told you guys this story last week. I owned one starter coat in my life, starter jacket. Georgetown Hoyas. This is back when Allen Iverson was there and everything. Like Georgetown was the bomb back then. No doubt, they were. Only starter jacket I ever had. This is number 2 right here.
All right, good.
Tell us. I only had one, but I don't want to name the team because it's not our home team. Okay. I had one too.
Okay.
Arch, never?
I think I got one from a Super Bowl. I never wore them because I felt like they were kind of, commemorative deals.
Yeah, right.
But this bad boy, you got to wear it because it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it is.
And it was a cold day today when we came in, so this was
got
nice.
Got a little 1966 patch on the sleeve. May not be able to see that there on camera. And, this thing's pretty fly. All right.
Gonna rock this one. For sure.
All right, so we are here to recap, unfortunately, 37-9 loss to the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday. Fellas, we were talking before we came on the air. Shock, you and I did the halftime show inside the stadium. At the time, it was 6-6. And the way that you'd probably, I don't necessarily say draw it up, but like completely in the game. Bijan Robinson came shot out of the cannon early, dicing him up and everything. Remember, this defense was legit. You'd look at all 3 levels, but defensive front, linebackers, secondary, they were loaded, statistically loaded. And Atlanta was kind of able to weave their way through them early on. Now, granted, had to settle for field goals. But then, Shock, I told you, as I ended up leaving to go use the restroom, I look up on one of the TVs, Arch, and I see a guy running to the end zone, and I said, is this a highlight from another game? And then I look up, and I kind of heard the roars from the stadium as I walked into the restroom, and I was like,
were you back
goodness.
from getting the Carvel? I know that happens at halftime. No?
Yeah, I was ready. I was locked and loaded. As it turns out, our coverage unit was not locked and loaded, as it turns out. Rashid Jaheed ran right through him.
So, Arch, I don't necessarily know where I'm going to throw this to you other than listening to the Raheem Morris's press conference on Monday. It seemed like, by and large, the first 10 minutes of the press conference was questions about special teams. And unfortunately, I feel like we have to come here because it's been a recurring theme in a negative fashion. It's been hurting the team. And it's not just the kickoff return. It's the issues on field goal unit. And it just seems like it's something different every week. He's frustrated. Everybody in the building is frustrated. The fans, I know, are frustrated. But the question is, Arch, where do they go from here? Speaking specifically about the special teams unit, where do they go from here to fix it? Because it's almost like every week it's something different.
Well, you might be the guy better to answer that question, but we'll refer to there are a couple things that are the same that are reoccurring, and it's their coverage unit on kickoff coverage. Remember, this is a team that kept a lot of guys on the roster that are special teams specialists, if you will. Kadero Hodge plays some receiver for you, but he's a specialist. Josh Woods, Felipe Franks, Mike Ford. You can go down the list of guys that are kind of on the team because of what they do from a special team standpoint. Now, ironically enough, when I watch the tape, I don't really see those guys making mistakes or being in the wrong place for the most part. But that's what it is. You've got different designs of things that are coming down the field, whether it's twists or whatever, to screw up the blocking schemes. And it turns out guys aren't getting back to their leverage positions that they're supposed to be on the coverage units. That's the kickoff coverage. And so this is not a 90-man roster where you can say, okay, I'm going to put the freshmen in there and let the freshman, talented freshmen we recruited out of Detroit go play, because we don't have that guy. You've got 53 guys on this roster. You got to decide which guys are active and which guys are inactive, and then that's who you play. And as it turns out, you can't play your starting defense on kickoff coverage. Now, you might sprinkle a couple of guys in there, but the guys that are getting that opportunity, that's your opportunity to be in the league. That's your opportunity to go show your worth to a football team from the back end of your roster depth standpoint. And frankly, some of those guys are letting the team down.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my take on that piece of it as far as the coverage units. How do you get one blocked in field goal block? They overloaded that one side. Matthew Bergeron is the wing to that side. He wasn't able to kind of stick and fall off. I mean, it just seems like things. To me, the game did not get out of hand at that point. Mm-hmm. Okay, and that's where everybody will point to. The kickoff return, and then it was 31-6 in the second half. The problem for me was the 2+ territory takeaway turnovers. You got a punt return to the +39. You get an interception at the +30. You got one field goal out of it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you have to score touchdowns. When you get deep plus territory situations, you've got to score touchdowns. You should have been up 17-3 at the half. Yeah. And you weren't. And so coming to and pointing directly at the kickoff return, yes, that was a punch in the gut. But I just think that take care of your business before that, and you can survive maybe the kickoff return.
Yeah, Shock. There's the kind of if you do want to talk about recurring theme, it's a word that we've been talking about. Raheem's been talking about all season long. It's inability to execute, and that goes in so many different phases. Whether that's field goal protection, whether that's field goal kicking, whether that's kickoff coverage, whether that's third down, whether that's red zone offense scoring touchdowns. You look at the record and you now understand why the record is the way it is because the inability in all those different situations throughout the totality of the season is what has gotten them here.
Let me I'm going to throw it back at you for a minute, right?
Yeah.
Art brought up a good point about the units and the things, the details that go in on a particular unit. Archie and I don't know if Archie has, but I've never ran down on a kick. I've never, been a guy who had to be in your lane, or Arch mentioned having to leverage the football or not getting back to their landmark. For a guy who's done that, can you explain to the common fan what that is? Because the common fan may say, what does it mean, they lost their leverage or they didn't stay in their lane and they're running down? It looks like guys are just running down and go try to make a tackle, but there's so much more to that than maybe the common fan can actually fathom. And as a guy who's done it, can you explain what Arch mentioned by the leverage and everything that goes into that?
So here's the caveat is I didn't play in the dynamic kickoff era, right? Which that's different because guys are starting within 5 yards from each other, okay? Mm-hmm. But what I'm going to explain will still should carry over because in the old school or the way that the college does it now is everybody's got a responsibility coming downfield. Generally, you're 3s, 4s, and 5s, okay? So think about where the kicker lines up. Right next to him are the 5s on each side, then 4s, then 3s. Those are your primary guys that are going down to make tackles. Again, I've not broken down this specific special teams unit, but I'm telling you that's generally what it is. And then you have 2 guys on the outside that are contained. So their responsibility is to make sure that the kickoff returner does not get outside of them, right? So you always want to keep your outside arm free. You leverage it to mean I'm going to make sure that the guy that's blocking me is here. This side is free, so he doesn't get outside of me, okay? So that's a responsibility as well. And then you have 2 guys that fall back, tuck inside, and you're called safeties, right? They're the last resort, along with the kicker, to make sure that if something breaks out, they're free. They're not engaged with a blocker, so they hang back 5, 7, 10 yards to make sure that if something does pop out, they're there to be your safety valve, okay? So let's get back to the 3s, 4s, and 5s. Generally what happens is you have to make a decision when you're going up against the guy that is blocking you is how am I going to get around him? Mm-hmm. Am I going to go through him? Is it going to be contact and I'm going to shed? Or am I going to use athleticism and speed to get around him? Here's where the problem generally lies, is when you try to go around him, and if you don't get around him easily and he's able to engage you and continue to push you out of the way, now you have vacated your coverage responsibility lane, okay? So just think, if that's where the kickoff returner decides to hit and you ended up just making a decision to try to run around, and then the guy ends up pushing you all the way out, now the person that was supposed to be there to make the tackle is no longer there, okay? So that's what we talk about, leveraging the football. And back in the old school days, we had a decision with Joe DeCamillis was you had 25 yards or more to decide whether or not you were going to go, and I'll say opposite of what our coverage responsibility was, meaning you were going to take the more risky route to get around. You could only do it if you had 25 yards or more. Reason being, you had enough time to get back into your lane. Yeah. If it was less than that, you had to make sure that you kept your leverage responsibility, okay?
Gotcha.
I know this is a lot of semantics that are going on here, but what happens is it's just like offense and defense, that all 11 players, even the kicker, on special teams have a role. And if they end up getting outside of their responsibility, if they get outside of their coverage lane and you vacate it, all these returners need is the smallest seam. With the speed, the athleticism, and their ability to make one person miss in space.
That's all you need.
Sometimes it's the safety, sometimes it's the kicker. But if your 3s, 4s, and 5s are not there to make a tackle, sometimes you're going to be up the creek without a paddle.
It's interesting, too, because you can compare it to what happens defensively. Defensively, there are run fits defensively. You hear defensive coordinators talk about it all the time. Guys are responsible for gaps. It's a very similar concept. The other piece to it, Rack, is directional kicking and where the kicking goes. Talk about that a little bit, as how that applies to what side maybe you take to run around.
Right. So coaches sometimes will – if there's a lot of different decisions. If there's 2 returners back, they might, on game plan, they might say the better returner's always on the right, the other one's on the left. Sometimes they decide to stack and they wait until the kicker kicks it, and then whoever's the best one is going to go field the ball, right? But you make a decision on your game plan throughout the course of the week is where you're going with the football. Generally, you're not kicking the ball in the middle of the field because the middle of the field gives you a two-way go. Essentially, you're giving yourself all 53 1/3 yards of the football field, and you're letting them decide which way they want to go, okay? However, you generally want to kick to one direction or another because now you essentially eliminate half the field, right? So now your coverage lanes, your guys can compress one side, and you're going to try to keep them on one half of the field, right? So it might be like we're kicking right, coverage right, whatever what terminology they end up using. And what happens is if you end up kicking it to the kickoff team's right, generally the returner is not going to have enough time, or somebody should be there to prevent him from getting all the way on the other side of the field, right? So this just goes back to game planning. It's tendencies. Where does the kickoff return team like to go? Do they like to go right? Well, we're going to try to prevent them from going right. Yeah. If they like to go up the middle, how do we force them away from what they do best, right? It's just like anything else, whether it's offense or defense. How do we attack? How do we game plan to minimize what they do best, right? So whether it's kickoff return or it's when Bradley Pinion is out there punting, you generally see him trying to punt the ball to a corner of the field because then the guy's going to catch it next to the sideline. That's your 12th defender. You hope the rest of your coverage team is on the outside in. You kind of cage him into one side of the field. Generally, you get him down on the ground, you're good to go. The punts that are missed in the middle of the field, a lot of times when I see it, I go, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Well, and there's the piece, Rack, just really good job, Rack, of explaining that.
No doubt.
This is the piece that when Marquise Williams and the assistant special team, all the guys get in from a special team standpoint, they're doing a game plan just like offense and defense is, just like Rack's talking about. They're trying to find the tendencies. And so what we try to do what the opponent will try to counteract that is they'll try to change some of their tendencies. Whether they are a right return group, they'll return something left, or they'll have something counter that comes back. So you can't just completely say, okay, the only time they return is left and right. So that's where the chess game goes in, and part of why return teams try to limit you to one side of the field, as Rack said, he can corral you. But think of it from an offensive standpoint. When I roll out as a quarterback, I've essentially eliminated one side of the field so the defense can slide with me, and now it becomes a condensed picture for me to be able to get the ball. And a lot of times you see the quarterback throw the ball out of bounds because there's too many guys over there to get the ball in. So it's a similar concept.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about, coveraging looks a lot like defense and running fitting. Getting guy on one side of the field is a lot like a quarterback. There's not a lot of room over there because you've rolled him out. So there's a lot of similarities to the three phases of the game, but make no mistake, they're game planning and trying to find the tendencies of each team.
And I think the last piece to that is a lot of people want to point the finger at one thing or another, point it at a coach or say, why is this guy still have his job? Let's put it like that. And when you're the coach of that particular unit, you're going to take a brunt of whatever the issue is that happens. But as Rack and Arch just talked about, the big thing is guys still got to go execute. If I put in a game plan for you to go do this and you go out of your lane, that has nothing to do with the coach. We talked about this a few weeks ago when Agnew drops the ball inside the 5-yard line. That has nothing to do with Marquise Williams. He's already told him, put your feet at 8. If your feet aren't at 8 and you back up, that's on you. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of it also has to do with the guys that are on the field. They have to execute these game plans in game and go do your job. So a lot of people, want to point the finger at Marquise. He's the head of that unit, but there's a lot of guys who have to take accountability as well for their play within that particular unit.
And guys, listen, this is the nature of the National Football League. How this works is fans, media, like to your point, Shock, they want to go and they want to ask head coach Raheem Morris, are you going to be making changes with the special teams coordinator? Because that's just the natural thing to do. Is he going to get fired, okay? And sometimes that does happen. We did see a coach on the staff get fired earlier on the season. But to your point, and I heard some questions yesterday, is how do you get the guys motivated knowing that you're officially eliminated from the postseason? This is simple. Like, the guys that have been getting beat on special teams, that have not been playing up to par, or the last games of the year, you're playing to get a roster spot.
For sure.
You're playing to show the organization that you want to stay here, or you're playing to show the rest of the 31 teams around the National Football League that not only you're still good enough to play, but that you're worthy enough for a roster spot, whether that's on special teams, that's wide receiver, quarterback, tackle, linebacker, you name it, right? So it's, to a player, it's easy to say, how do you get up and go when you have nothing to play for essentially for the postseason? It's like, I want to keep playing in this league.
Yeah.
And nothing is guaranteed outside of what, guys? 10 players on the team that probably know that they got a really good chance of being here next year?
I heard the best response to that question this past weekend, and it came from one of the Pro Bowl players on his team, and Chris Lindstrom. He got asked that particular question, and he used the word responsibility. He said, I have a responsibility not just to my teammates, I have a responsibility to this fan base, I have a responsibility to myself, I have a responsibility to his organization to go out and finish the right way. Regardless of what's going on, we might not have a chance to go to the playoffs, but this is what I do. This is my job. I have a responsibility to go out and play the best way that I know how, because at the end of the day, this is something for my family for sure, but he also mentioned that this is a time where a lot of young guys will be looking to him to say, you know what, how does he respond in this situation? Because down the road, one of these guys, they're going to be leaders on this team too. They're going to be like, you know what, I remember when Chris Lindstrom was in his 7th, 8th year, and we had just lost 5, 6 in a row, but this guy was still fighting his ass off. He was still, putting in the work every single day, and that's the responsibility he has as a professional to go out and get it done. And I think you bring up a great point, and we've talked about it a number of times before, the pride you have. This is what you do. This is what you grew up in 6, 7 years old saying, I would love to play in the National Football League. And now you're here and you're going to give up because things aren't going your way or things aren't going good for your team. No, you got to have pride for yourself, for one, but also pride for this emblem that you put on every single day. The fact that you got an opportunity to play in this league when there are thousands of guys out there who would love to be sitting in your seat right now. Say, I would love to have the opportunity to go to work and prepare and put together a game plan and go work. So I love what Chris Lindstrom said, and it's a reason why he's been around this league a long time and a reason why he's one of the top guys in this league.
Arch, I want to ask you just from maybe, again, a big picture view. There's a lot of things going. We talked a lot about special teams, but still some of the themes are not making catches when you need to make catches. Very uncharacteristic fumble by Bijan Robinson, right? Don't see him cough the football up very often. Where do you see, let's talk about this offense right now. Where do you see things need to dramatically improve in order for this organization to flip the switch and get things turned around? Like, what are the one or two things that you think have to dramatically improve offensively?
Well, I mean, the conversion situation stuff is abysmal. I think in the last 8 games, I've been charting it through 8 games now. And when I say conversion, nowadays fourth down becomes a piece of that. Teams are a lot of times using from an analytics standpoint, it's okay to go here, 4th down and 2. Let's forget about the field goal. We're going to go for it. And so over the last 8 games, Atlanta is 25 out of 99 attempts. So you don't have to be a scientist
pretty close
to figure
to 25%.
25, just a tad, one blip over 25%. That's not good. So if you wanted to break that down, okay, if there were 12 possessions in a game, you converted 3 times. And so you're not going to win a lot of games in that situation. So obviously we got to get to where you can stay on the field offensively. That continues drives. Ultimately, the goal line hits you in the face and you get a chance to put points on the board. Not 3 points, you score 7. I think that's number 1. Number 2, I don't know where it is written. It's not really written, but you have to want the football to come your direction and expect it to come to you.
Yeah.
And it almost feels like if the ball does come that direction, it almost catches guys by surprise. Or, okay, now I can try to catch it. No, it's like, I think we talked about this last week. You want the ball. If you're playing shortstop, hit me the ball. I want the ball because I'm going to make the play. I know what to do with it. It's the same thing if I'm running a pass route. Please, Kirk, throw me the ball. Run your route like the ball, the play is designed for you only, that you're going to get the football. And we just don't have enough guys making those kind of plays. And they're critical plays because we're not making enough explosive plays offensively. I think we had 6 plays in this game of 15 yards or more, and that's kind of been the average all year long. Seattle had 10 plays of 15 yards or more. I mean, I think they've got 103 plays of 15 yards or more in their first 13 games. So they're averaging 9 plays a game virtually explosives. We're not doing that enough. So if you don't put an emphasis on making the play when the ball comes to you or expecting it to come to you, then you're going to be dysfunctional. And that's kind of where we've been.
Arch, Shock, during the game, I'm still really close friends with Algie Crumpler, former teammate of mine, and I'm texting him because he was at the game as well. It was Legends Weekend. And to your point, Arch, this wasn't exactly what we were talking about, but this is the first thing that came to my mind. When we were playing at that time, this was early 2000s, so if you're younger generation, you're probably not going to understand what I'm talking about, but you'll get it, is Algie always wanted the ball. And Algie was always ready for the ball, and Algie had huge, soft hands, and he almost always caught the ball. Yeah. If he had somebody draped on him, he would catch the ball. If he was wide open, he would catch the ball. If it was 3rd down, he was even more locked in to make a play for the team because he had that dog in him. Like, we talk about that term. I know we joke because you're a former Georgia Bulldog, but, like, there is a difference in whether it's like you go up and you attack balls and snatch it, or any time the ball is in your vicinity, you catch the ball. Yeah. Like, I watch Jackson Smith and Jigba, and he makes it look effortless, right? And when the ball's there, he just catches it. He gets upfield, he gets out of bounds, and they constantly move the chains. That's, in my opinion, Shock, what's missing. Going to your thought about the conversions, if we had more guys, not one, the one that we got has been out. If we had more guys that had that mentality, give me the ball, I'm going to make the play, it is my ball, Shock. That 3rd down number goes up, the red zone number goes up. Yeah. That's, in my opinion, what Atlanta needs to get more of.
You got to have more separation, too. I mean, that's part of it, too, is guys winning. Even, Kyle made some pretty good catches in this ballgame, but there were a lot of really tough contested catches you got to have in this ballgame. You look up, and we talked about JSN, he had a couple where, he's running away from coverage. He is winning on his routes. Quick story about Crump that you just brought up to my mind. I don't know how it happened, but I ended up, running a couple series with Crump and in practice, and we go and we run a couple plays. After about the 2nd or 3rd play, I didn't throw him the ball. He comes back, hey, man, I ain't out here just to be running out here. Throw me the ball. And I promise you that when you said that, it is the truest thing you ever said, because I remember him coming to me saying, throw me the ball. I ain't out here just to be running around. When I'm out here, give me the rock.
He said, I ain't no decoy.
Nah, man. He's like, throw me the ball. What you doing? Shot. Throw me the ball. Next play, I threw him the ball. But that's just part of, I think, having that kind of demeanor that you guys are talking about, that if the ball's coming my way, or I expect a football, or every single time I play with guys who every time they step on the field, every time they run a route, they feel like they are open, or they feel like they deserve the football. I don't care who's in front of them. They say, guess what? I'm going to win versus him, and I'm going to go get the rock. And I think that's what you're yearning for. I think that's what we're looking for. I think that's exactly what you need. And I think as a quarterback, when you have guys like that, I think you're willing to put those guys up to bat a little bit more. Just think about 5. Just think about Drake. We know what kind of player he is. You know the mentality that he has. Think about how many times we've seen coverage on him. We've seen a couple guys on him, and we still give him a chance because you know that dude wants the ball. He want to make the play because you throw him that ball, that's an opportunity for him to make a play. And I think that's part of it too, is having those kind of guys who want to go do that. Now, I'm sure all those guys want their football for sure. I think they, absolutely want to go make plays. But I think we haven't seen the urgency that you would want, especially in game when the ball does come your way, that I don't care what's happening, that other dude ain't going to get it. Yeah. But I'm going to make sure that either I get it or it's going down. So, yeah, I agree. More guys who say, you know what, that ball's in my area. Guess what? We're going to have a completion. We're going to move this chain.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of fans think, well, yeah, Drake's 6'4", 6'5". He's got a 7-foot wingspan. Yeah, he's going to be able to dominate. Steve Smith, who played wide receiver at Carolina, is a little dude. I don't know if he's thick, man. He's wide, but he's a little guy. I talked to Jake Delhomme, and Jake Delhomme said if he didn't throw him the ball in critical situations, Steve Smith, and we remember Steve Smith getting in fights on the sidelines in practice and stuff. He'd come back and say, dude, throw me the ball. Right. Get me the ball. I'm going to get open for you, and if I'm not, you throw it to me, I'm going to catch it anyway.
Throw it to me anyway.
Yeah, and so it doesn't have to be this gigantic dude. Now, if you've got Kyle Pitts size or Drake London size,
helps.
Hey, bonus, ding, 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 bonus. But it doesn't have to be that guy. Yeah. But you made a great point about some of the techniques as a receiver attacking the football, and I don't know if the layman fan understands that, but sometimes the ball doesn't come out on time. Maybe there's a defender on your back. There's little nuances where you gear down, get the guy on your back, maybe draw the penalty, but now create that separation late to catch the football, or go get the ball if it's late and you undercut the defender. Go attack the football with your hands. There are techniques that wide receivers use that are really successful at this level that just frankly not seeing enough of.
Yes. And to your point, there are many times when that player is on your back that you have to go here with it. Yeah. There's been too many times I'm seeing guys doing this, right? Yeah. The body catches. And that is so much easier for the ball to get knocked out, right? But if you can go out and you attack the ball with your hands, or your route has just a little bit of a bubble on it to create, all you got to do is create a half a yard of separation sometimes, and that's the difference between complete and incomplete. Yep. So, guys, I mentioned it already. Officially eliminated from playoff contention, but there's no rest for the weary. Arch, Thursday night football. Falcons, as we record here on a Tuesday, they've got 48 hours. They're back on the field here. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about this game. Tampa Bay coming off kind of a surprising home loss to the Saints. Baker Mayfield not very good in the game. 14 of 30, 122 yards, touchdown, interception. We've seen this game twice a year, a number of years. And Tampa's in a much different situation, right? Still fighting for playoff positioning here, but talk to us a little bit about, Arch, your experience in this Falcons-Buccaneers matchup. Already had one earlier this season, but going on the road and having to do it on a short week.
Well, it's probably the perfect scenario in this. You're mired in this losing streak, is get a divisional opponent on a short week. I think it's kind of a perfect scenario. Go on the road, go to their building. Now, they're probably thinking the same thing. Hey, I got a divisional opponent. We just lost to another divisional opponent. We get them in our building, short week. Now we can get back on track. So both teams are thinking the same way here. But it's a team that you're familiar with. You understand who the personnel is. You have a pretty good idea what Todd Bowles is going to throw at you defensively, all the different looks and things that you're going to get. You played them to a standstill in week one. Now, are the teams different now than they were then? Certainly from an Atlanta perspective, you've got a different quarterback playing than you did in week one. But Tampa looks very much the same as they did. Tristan Wirfs did not play on Sunday. They're real outstanding left tackle. He's a little bit banged up. But as far as I can see, based on what I looked on tape, they're pretty healthy on the defensive side of the ball. And New Orleans just ran right through them with the run game. We saw New Orleans' run game, 3 weeks ago, and Atlanta completely stoned their run game.
Yep.
So you have maybe some good feelings about that from a defensive standpoint, but make no mistake, Baker Mayfield's going to double down. He understands, as Rack just said, they're in playoff contention. He's got a wealth of receivers that can go get the rock for him. So you're going to have to be locked and loaded from a defensive standpoint to get ready for him. They're going to try to run it with White and Irving, and those two guys played a lot in the backfield together recently, a lot like what we're doing with Bijan and Tyler Algier. Yep. And so they're handing one the football and throwing it to the other one, and vice versa. Those two guys are both really good at both. So it'll be an interesting match. It'll be a tough matchup, but I think this to me is a perfect scenario from a get ready to play quickly, get your pride ready. Here's the team that plays in your division. I think it's a perfect scenario.
Yeah, and Shock, this is one of those where it's like, okay, well, how does the team get up and play when you're eliminated from playoffs? Well, it's a divisional game. It's the Bucs. Like, if you play for the Atlanta Falcons, like, you get up for these Carolina Panthers, New Orleans Saints, Tampa Bay Bucs game. So I'm going to ask you this question, and all three of us are going to answer this, Shock. We're going to go to our little bit of our moment, but this week is going to be the Falcons will win if this week. All right, Shock. So the Falcons will win on the road, short week against a divisional opponent if they do what?
It's interesting that we had the conversation we had already earlier, and I put it in my notes, and it's something that we actually got to just a few minutes ago. And if the Falcons win is if they get complimentary play on the perimeter. And I think that's something that we have not gotten over the last few weeks. We've had one guy who goes out. This past week it was Kyle who had 90 yards, but not really much. Mooney had one catch. I mean, you use Bijan as, he's always a big piece of it. But we haven't had 3, 4, 5 guys who have 4 or 5 catches in a ball game. Mm-hmm. And I think if you're able to do that, that helps with conversion. That means a lot of guys are being involved in his game plan. That means a lot of guys are wanting the football and making plays with it. Hopefully, if that happens, you have a plethora of guys, whether it's David Seals, whether it's Mooney coming back and making plays, Kyle coming back in making plays, or whoever it may be. If we have complementary pieces on the outside making plays, adding to this offense, I think it gives you a better chance to win this ball game because you have more guys that are involved in this offense. And obviously, we talked about the conversion part of it, which will be a huge part of the ball game, as it always is. It's something that you can always point to. But I think you can't just have one guy that has 7, 8 catches and everybody else has 1 catch and 0 catches. Yeah. It doesn't bode well for you. So I think complimentary on the outside with your perimeter guys will be a big part of this ball game. If you do that, you got a chance, I think.
All right, Art. So he's got spreading the wealth outside in the passing game. Falcons will win if
guys step up around Kyle, and let's hope 5 plays, but I don't know that he will. He's day-to-day, as Raheem said in his presser this week, so it'd be nice to see that guy on the field, but if he's not, that makes a ton of sense. I guess I'll flip over on the other side of the ball. I think you've got to make sure it's not a two-way go. You can't let Irving and White get going in the run game. I think whenever they struggled from the passing standpoint, it's when they exclusively go to the passing game. I looked at the tape against New Orleans, and they were really struggling to get a foothold in the run game. New Orleans did a pretty good job of taking the run away, so they started they threw a ton of screens in this game. And some of it broke out, some of it didn't. But White and Irving were a big part of that. Cade Otton, their tight end, is an outstanding outlet in the screen game. So I would say limit the run game to where they have to lean into even though that might be their strength with Godwin. It looks like Mike Evans might play in this game.
Heard that.
And so you got the young kid Ibuka who's been pretty good. And so I might be I'm telling them to use their strength, but I really think that any quarterback wants to be able to know that I can run the football with those two guys. So I'm gonna say limit their ability for the two backs to affect the game.
Listen, this goes back to the elementary aspects of football is that, when somebody dominates in the run game, that's a whole lot easier because you're turning around and you're handing the ball to somebody.
Yeah.
Passing game, you've got to have a good throw. Guys got to make the catch, and defense got to not be there to knock it away. There's so many other elements that go into being successful in the passing game. I know we're talking about the National Football League, but if somebody could just turn around and hand it to a running back and it's 6, 7, 10, 6, 4, like that's hard on a defense. So we got both sides of the ball. It only seems fitting that I go to the special teams.
Yeah.
Got to rise to the challenge, guys. Oddly enough, this was one of my keys last week because of the problem that they had against the Jets was that Atlanta needs a special teams win. So I'm going to repeat it again because sometimes the key can be the same. I bet you almost every team goes into every game and says, we got to stop the run. Do you think that they would change it because they want to get cute? No, because it's that important, okay? Special teams is contributing directly to Atlanta losing football games. Not just because they gave up field position at the 40. Like, they're giving up points. Mm-hmm. And that is when you're losing football games. Now, look, 37-9, if they don't give up the kickoff return, I don't know, right? Like, but their job is to go win. And again, what I mean by win is they don't have to block a punt. They don't have to return one for a touchdown. Make the tackles you're supposed to make. Make the kicks that you're supposed to make, change field when you're supposed to change field. To me, that's a special teams win. Now, the bonus can be go 5 for 5 on field goals. The bonus can be block a punt. The bonus can be get a couple returns that give the offense the ball in plus territory. That's even better, but you can't give up points.
Right? Well, and make no mistake, and it's professional football, and we're talking about pride and going out and doing your job, and it doesn't matter what happens over here. I'm gonna be singly focused. It's a 60-minute game that human beings are playing, and there's a ton of emotion wrapped up in the game. And if we get an interception or a turnover deep in their territory, I'm expecting points. Yeah. That's just natural.
Yep.
Okay, we get a big punt return, I'm expecting points. If we penetrate down there, I'm expecting, okay, we got to settle for 3. I'm expecting us to bang it through and not miss it. I'm not expecting them to return a kickoff. So there is as much as we try to think about, okay, I've just got my singular job to do, the emotion piece of it is in there as much as you try to eliminate that it's a kick in the gut when you don't get out of what the efforts you put in potentially defensively to create a short field situation. You don't get anything out of that. Okay? As much as you try to stay singularly focused, that's going to take a little wind out of your sails. Yep. Okay? Yep. You get a kickoff return, it's 6-6 at halftime. You get a kickoff return for a touchdown before you've even, warmed your helmet back up to get it off. That's a kick in the gut. It takes energy out of you. Mm-hmm. So there's some energy sappers out there that we've got to stay away from and take advantage of some of those opportunities, because let's face it, this is a no holds barred, everybody in the game fight to get yourself on the right side. And so if I take any energy or I take any momentum away from us, that's gonna even hamper us even more to try to get on the winning side.
So we talked about spreading the wealth outside, limiting, slowing down the run game, making sure they don't dominate on the ground.
The two backs kill you.
Don't let them kill you. And then the special teams needs to respond.
No doubt.
Right? Does that sound like a pretty good recipe?
It's a good plan.
Like the plan.
Yeah. Good plan.
It's a good plan.
You'll be presenting this to the team in just a few minutes, right? This will be
going down in the team meeting.
I'm going down in the team meeting, and I'm going down with my starter jacket. And you guys are going to go as well, because
there's a good chance we'd be escorted out handcuffed if we tried to go down.
By the way, if you tuned in late, it's throwback week, and so we figured we would do our best. It wouldn't probably be as cool if we had helmets on, but we've got our starter jackets with the throwback logo on here. So, by the way, guys, we're doing pretty good. I don't see any sweat running down the faces, so
hung in.
Not quite sure what's happening under here, but at least here we held it
It's
together.
the motion of talking about what we talked about that we forgot about the Jackets. That's what it was.
Exactly.
We got into it. So, yeah.
Quick reminder before we go, Pro Bowl voting is still going on, so make sure you log on, get your vote heard in the Pro Bowl. Send Bijan Robinson and whoever else on this team that you feel is deserving to get that honor and represent this organization. So make sure you go to AtlantaFalcons.com and on social media, get that vote on. Follow us on all your podcast apps. Like, comment, subscribe, YouTube, you name it. Shock, he will. You want to take us out?
Hey, man. Let's go get a dub on Thursday night, man. Go spoil the Tampa Bay Bucs season. They in it. They ain't in it no more. Let's go get it, Arch. Come on. Come on, Arch. Arch,
I hear
bring
you,
one
brother.
back, Arch.
I hear you, brother.
Bring one back,
You gonna go
Arch.
get one?
Go get one.
Okay.
Falcons
Let's do
Audible,
it.
presented by AT&T. We out. Enjoy, everybody.